I'm back. So today I had to hang out with my ex fiance for a few hours, and we had business and things to handle. And plus, I needed to get about 400 bucks from him for some personal reasons and stuff because, something is wrong with me with money management and I'm having some issues. Thankfully, he was there. And again, this is the reason why I'm glad that we're not on this whole cussing and hollering and whatever, because I really, even though breaking off our engagement and making a whole YouTube channel dedicated to this and, all of the turmoil and just everything, just it's crazy. I just took our flow and disrupted it. And we actually were doing really well for like 2 years with hardly um no disagreements at all. So when I say arguments, disagreements, nothing. Here and there, I always check people. I check anybody that cross state lane with me. Like, okay, there's just certain stuff that I'm just not gonna talk about and discuss. I'm not gonna give energy to. There's certain energies I'm not going to entertain. I don't entertain aggressive, angry, negative energy. I just do not. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I'm not going to be there with you with that. And people say, "Oh, I'm just expressing myself." Or, okay, go to therapy. I'm not a therapist. If you were paying me, I'll let you unload on me. I'm taking notes. Yep. Making up clinical stuff for you to do and blah, blah, blah. A plan, a action, something. But just sitting here letting people unload and be angry and be mean and be hateful, this is just not my thing. But the great thing about adults, and when you're adulting properly, you're able to have disagreements. You're able to you're able to break off intimate relationships and still maintain the base relation. You're able to do mature things. And that's the level that we are in now. I know people probably think, oh, why am I even associating at all with this guy? Well, it's, 6 years of my life. And, well, you might as well say 7 because we're in the month of October now. I think I came later in the month or whatever. I think the whole thing came later, but anyway. So today, anyway, we vibe together with no issues. I didn't bring up anything. We didn't talk about anything serious, other than money type of things. But what I noticed is he's just like talking about us doing things together in the future. And the example of that was like, he said, when we go to Africa, we get, this, that, whatever, whatever. And number one, we were supposed to be having a vacation in Italy, actually. So my thing is, when I met him, I told him my goals and aspirations and things. There's all types of things that I really wanted to do, and remaining single would allow me to do that because I mean, I there's just things that I want to do in life, and I can't sit here at this kitchen table or at any table, couch, wherever, and just be negotiating and telling you, oh, and basically begging you to come along and do the things that I want to do in life. And that's what you have to mesh with in a relationship. And the fact that, okay, so here breaks down why I date even international or African. People always ask me, why you date Africans? Because Africans and people that are from other countries, they're not afraid to travel. People that are in, this is just my experience here, it's just like when you start talking about doing anything abroad, people are, they just, it's like they can't relate. They cannot relate at all. It would be awesome to be in a different country every 3 months. But because my child is, young and school age, and yeah, I can homeschool and the traveling could be a part of the homeschool. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that that hand to hand contact would be beneficial for him. But I wanted him to be social. I wanted him to be able to read people. When you're shut off and shut off from that socialization, that's, in just my opinion, I think that children need to play and they need to socialize, and that way they can read negative behaviors and begin to make choices. And I see that with my child. And I've always envisioned this thing like where, I had a condo in Italy, one in Kenya. I wanted a really massive house in Ghana. And I've even thought of Zimbabwe. I've thought of being able to have property internationally like that. And then when you think of the United States, you think of, I wanted property in the Midwest. And then I've always loved Montana. I've always wanted property in Montana. And so when you just even think of maintaining those properties, okay? And yes, you can hire companies to maintain them for you and do all the conference calls, but these are your assets. So you're going to want to touch down. You're going to want to see your things that you've paid millions of dollars for, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for. So I've always the international aspect of dating someone that's not afraid to travel, not afraid to touch down and mesh and vibe in another culture. That's that really, that's the thing that really attracted me to Africans. My first friend, Coffee, in Chicago, from Ghana, and older gentleman, super fresh though. Super fresh guy. This guy stayed fresh. And when we talking about fresh, we talking about crispy clean, cleaners clean, okay? Cologne, possibly too much, but cologne. And smokers, when you a smoker, you smoke, he smoked cigarettes and weed and whatever. They want to have that cologne overpower all of that smoke and smell. But as you're around them long enough, I mean, even with all of that cologne and stuff, that they smoke. But the long and the short was, we became super great friends. As a matter of fact, we were together the day 9/11 happened. We sat in his apartment and watched the TV this man had in his apartment was as big as his apartment. It's as long as the wall on his apartment. These little bitty apartments, he had all this furniture packed in anyway. But I was grateful for the friendship and the fact that he was, I'm a woman, so obviously he gonna try to get with me. But when he saw that his advances wasn't working, he took it to this friendship level too, and was very hang out with him. So that's my first African friend. And my godmom is from Ghana. Or no, I'm sorry. My godmom is actually from Chicago, Illinois, but her husband and her dad is from Ghana. So you might as well say she's from Ghana too. So the long or the short is, my introduction to the African culture, I was intrigued, and when people ask me that, and they, want to put you in these different categories, please know that I don't sit around and he and kiki with nobody about no group of people. Black, white, male, female, gay, straight, no. the he and the kikiing about somebody, everybody sitting there having a real big debate about it. You talking directly to the person that you need to talk about or talk to or whatever. You sitting up here asking me about Muslims and talking about these and that one and this one and that one, this one, that one. And a lot of it is just vitriol and hate and weirdness, and you just be so uncomfortable. And there's some people, they thrive on that. And I think that everyone is guilty of it. Everyone is guilty of it. So no one can say, I've never done this. But the biggest thing is now we are conscious, we're aware, we are adulting. We are doing the mature thing. And the mature thing is, hey, I'm all for confronting folks. I'm all for talking to who you need to talk to. But you come over here to me talking about this one and that one and all this is that, you trying to avoid them hands. Because most time people, they sit there and they try to gather a group of folks and do some little slice stuff. But when it all comes down to it, when they confronting the person they talking about, they wind up getting hands put on them, getting, severely disrespected. So they try to go to the group that they think is going to support this crap. And a lot of times you have folks, they join into these little groups. I do have some issues with folks. And when I got some issues with you, I'm going to come on to you with it. But in this, I'm actually too old for that too. You know what I'm saying? You live your life. I'm old enough to take myself out of the situation. I see some things, you make me endure some things that I don't want to endure. I'm not going to endure them things. That's it. That's all. You keep on. Live your life. I'm not trying to make you do what I want you to do or how I want you to think or whatever. But if you want to be in my space, it's just a certain way that I do things. That's it. And that's all. So going forward to, this man. Now this man, and see, you're not supposed to toot your own horn, and I'm not, because I've said and done some things, some of the arguments that we've had, and I sat back and I thought about it. I invoke that stuff because I'm being weird. I'm being weird. And some of it was gaslighting, right? So we were feeding off of each other. So I had to step back. We both, and it was like that whole year that we were not even around each other, not contacting each other, not talking to each other. And that first point of contact after that year break, it just picked right back up like it never stopped, And what I saw was he has a routine and a regimen, and I began to be able to clock his movements, and I began to be less insecure because, I could actually put him in a time frame. And so then we opened up this. See, I'm open to come to his house whenever. I can always pop up on him. I don't do that because I'm a considerate person. And then I don't want to waste my own time. People say that all the time, but they may be gone on emergency. They may be not there, whatever the situation. So I always make plans. But after the year break, we resumed. And so going forward, it's like we were back and we agreed to disagree on some things. It's sometimes that arguments could have arose, but we just agreed like, hey, we're going to get off of this subject and go on somewhere else. Okay. And it's amazing though. We both are really busy, and we spend a lot of time together, a couple times a week over a 6-year period of time. And there was some time in there where we were together almost every day. So it's amazing though. We still technically don't know each other. I feel like, um, my trust level is just down. It's like, wow, what do you really think of me? Like, you let this stuff slip. What else crazy stuff do you think? You know what I'm saying? And um man, most of the time people, when they get hurt and stuff like this, is a lot of times severely or fatally, it be by people that they trust and know and love. That's how that they've let them into their space. That's how it's easy to do crazy stuff, because they've let them into their space. They've let their guard down. They don't think in their mind for a million seconds that nothing this person would do. They sleep, and this is why my red flags with anger and aggression and two-facedness and all of those little things are signs to me of a person that could flip easily without hesitation. We all have emotions, we all react, and we're all guilty. But my thing is going forward, when you say that you're adulting, in my opinion, just the name calling should be out. Um, the emotions, facts should be presented. In relationships, I think emotions is okay to be presented. Like, hey, I feel neglected. I feel angry. I feel like you can bring that into the conversation when it's an intimate relationship. Friendships and things like that, in my opinion, not so much. But in this setting that we did today, we handled our business. We did what we were supposed to do. So, but I heard him trying to call me back in with some of the things that we discussed. And like I told you in like maybe the first or second audio session, the man told me that I was going to be his wife the very first 10 minutes of meeting me. He told me, you're going to be my wife. He didn't keep saying it. He said it in 10 minutes of meeting me. And it immediately turned me off. That immediately turned me off. My mind went, I remember actually being up probably for hours, Googling and running names and doing this and doing that, finding stuff on the internet. And I will tell you, I did find some stuff. I found all types of stuff. And I introduced it slowly. And he copped to everything that I found on the internet. And I have to hold some of it because it is hilarious. It's not criminal or anything. He's not a criminal person, but they've been through some stuff, and there's some stuff I can't put on here because it's just too personal and too connected to him, and I would have to have his permission. But the stuff that I physically went through, I don't mind putting on here. But no, I mean, but when I sat back and thought about it, and then when I learned this man, because I told you in some of these audio sessions in the past, the man, even on the day that his mom passed away, when I called, I said, hello, how are you? The small talk, hello, how are you? And he says, God is good. And then he says my name, and he says, I am not feeling so good, or something to that effect. And then he says, my mama died. What I took out of that, what I took from that initially was that this man gave praise to the Most High for life, for being able to speak, and, in most instances, people, that's the first thing they're going to lead with. They probably be crying on the phone when you answer. I know I was a complete mess. But That is the day. I'm not going to say that I fell in love because, I really probably was in love before that. But I'm saying that is the day that I felt like he could be my husband. Because I'm not necessarily religious, but I am very spiritual. And I feel like he still was able, in the midst of all of that he was going through in his mind and all of the stuff, the grief, he was still able to thank God. He said, God is good. And then he began to tell me that he was troubled and, well, that his mind, man, that day, that is a day that we really connected. And that actually was this past January. So we're coming up on 1 year of that. And I kind of vowed, because I'm telling you, before that, I would really be, and when I say, see, I don't want you to think that I sit here and cuss and holler. I don't do that. But I check stuff. Like, I check it. Like, you say something crazy. Why did you say that? That's so mean. I'm going to tell you straight about yourself, in my presence. Like, no, there's no way that we going there. We are not. You do whatever you want to do on your pastime, but you in my presence, you can't be bringing that negative energy. We chilling. That negative energy has no place in my life. So another thing, so we had to drive to some places today. He drove, of course, and I don't know. He may be listening to. He may be listening to the audio sessions. Who knows? But we were driving, and he called a few people some idiot. There's a few idiots, but he let him in, and he he tried to actually, let him in. He didn't cuss. You stupid. Da, 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 da. I mean, he did call them idiots. I think they were idiots, and they were scaring the holy crap out of me. Like, they was zooming around and everything, being weird. This one guy was breaking, and we go past him, and he's on the phone. He's not even. I mean, the phone. All I saw was his face in the phone, and he looked like he was into that phone. And we going 80 miles an hour down the highway, and he all of a sudden just started breaking. So we had to get on away from him. It's just, I mean, I have issues or whatever. I really don't do this. I just do not like expressways and stuff, but you got to push yourself beyond your limits and everything. And so we had business to handle today. So we went and handled that, and ate together and all of that. Very good day. And plus I needed $400 and he gave it to me. And all I can tell you is, he may be listening to either the channel, or he's picking it up. He's picking up everything. He's picking up all my clues and my hints and all the stuff that I'm leaving behind and have been leaving behind for 6 years. That's why I was actually really angry in the beginning. If you listen to those first few audio sessions that I made in the beginning, you can hear how angry I am, because now he knows what to do and how to be. He was so used to a certain type of woman, and I'm not going to name this type of woman because I may, in some people's eyes, fall in whatever. I don't know. I don't even care. But all I know is that the hard work, it's some hard work, so a lot of checking, and not even going overboard with that. Because again, I do stuff when I'm telling you stuff, I'm gonna tell you in the privacy of us and between me and you. This is not stuff, and he's understanding that. He's understanding everything that's coming out my mouth. He understanding why I'm flipping out and all of that. And I'm just like, okay, so now he's figured out all of these woman secret social cues and this and that, and he knows exactly how to swoop in, and without her even asking now, without her having to even ask or say anything, he knows how to swoop in and do all, woo her in because of my training. Okay. And that is what I'm angry. I know it's like petty, right? It's so petty. And I know a lot of women are like, why did you stand around and do that? Right? Why did you sit around and do that? He should have knew. He should have knew this. He should have knew that. Um, the dynamic is different. In America, men be around they went moms and aunts and stuff like that. African man flies from his country to another country, and it may not even be the United States. It could be Italy. It could be UK. It could be freaking Poland. It could be Ireland, wherever. They are where they are all by themselves. The conduct is survival. The conduct is not love. The conduct, and see, I realize and I recognize that. But why I gravitated to this particular situation is because the immigration aspect of being used on the immigrant, realize that I can, there were a lot of little different other issues and things. And just the fact that, like I say, I don't want to be around anyone that's hateful and aggressive and just on that level. So that was a choice that I made. I broke off our engagement. I did this because of the energy. And I don't know, I don't want a super feminine guy or no, it's not masculinity that no. I'm talking about that negative energy when people cussing in traffic and negative stuff to say, always talking about folks, always cussing and hollering about this or that and whatever, that's just too much for me. Man or woman, it could be my mama. It could be anybody that's like that. And I'm piecing out from you and loving you from a distance. You did. So anyway, successful little meet and greet today, but no, we're not together and we're still broke up. And I just, I want to be back together. I want it to be marriage. I want it to be, it's just like now at this point, all this dating and girlfriend and all this too, it's just too much anyway. And we were right there and couldn't get there. So it's like I'm seeing, is this a sign? So, I'm confused, and I know I'm confusing myself more. We don't have any other choice but to, communicate and be around each other. This is what we have to do right now. But it's all good and we're gonna get through. No one really knows what the future will hold. But I do see the the chameleon. I see the person is trying to adapt. And will that adaptation hold up long term? Time tells on everyone. It took 6 years to get to this point, and so now you're trying to skate on to, the mindset that you think that I have. I know that people are cunning. I know that people are all types of different things. So, looking at this particular situation and what I'm going to do with it, I'm going to use it to its fullest potential. Do I think that this man hates me and loathes me? No. I do honestly believe that he loves me and loves my son. Um, and just going forward, you just have to stay tuned.